Hey guys, welcome back. Sorry, it's been a long 2 weeks. I swear we meant to actually do something last week, but life gets in the way sometimes. So here we are. Nothing much else new to update you guys on. We do have our Minect accounts up. I'm gonna get some QR codes created so that we can just insert those into the videos. Just so that way it's easier to find us and you don't have to go searching through the app or whatever. Download the app, download the Minect app. Create an account. It's free. You don't have to pay anything
Sign up.
to sign up to use it. You just pay for the interactions, which we've talked about and we'll talk about more later. But yeah, other than that, and 75 hard is going surprisingly well. Other than the fact that we're sore as fuck.
Well, but I think I think it was you brought it up well yesterday. The individual components of 75 hard we'd already implemented into our lives. It's
More or
just
less,
like
yeah.
putting everything together, making a baby. I think the hardest part is doing the 2 workouts, particularly on shift days. I was
Yeah.
stressing. I was so fucking stressed yesterday. I was like, there ain't no way I'm gonna finish this if I keep getting popped with calls and not even charting, but like the actual like getting popped with calls. And there were people at the fire department, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna be the only person in this whole place like just walking outside just for shits and giggles in full uniform. So I was stressed. I was like, ain't no fucking way I'm gonna be the first one to fail this challenge and let Daniel win, even though it's not a winning thing.
It's
But
funny because when I first mentioned, well, at least the first mention that she remembers of if
mm,
one of us fails, we both have to restart. At first, she's kind of like, "Oh, really? Like, we didn't talk about this," which we did, but that's a side note.
no, we didn't.
Now, like, she's fully embraced, and she's like, "You haven't checked everything off your list yet. You good? You still got some things. Are you gonna be able to make it?"
I was listen, I am competitive as fuck. My entire life has been a competition, okay? I've been fighting for life my entire life. So you just put another competition in front of me. So yes, I'm going to make sure that I'm not the first one to fail. Okay? Listen, Linda.
I love it.
If I fail, just we're not going to say anything.
But hey, it had the desired effect.
Eh, eh, I don't know. You weren't very you weren't very like cheery, like you can do it, babe. It was just you'll finish. It's fine. And I was like, but I might not. Because if you're close to not finishing, I will be up your fucking butt at midnight making sure you finish your shit. Not in
Yeah,
the fun way.
yeah, we finished that plenty, but stop.
Being so mean.
So we kind of wanted to jump straight into the topic today, and the broad topic is why is EMS the red-headed stepchild of healthcare, public service, all of it, and
Something fun developed the past 2 days, and we decided to change how we're starting.
well, and I mean, there's been a couple of interesting things. There's been the whole discounts conversation. There's been
That's been ongoing.
yeah, but like it blew up a little bit the other day.
Yeah.
But we actually wanted to start with something that most of you have seen. If you're on TikTok and if your algorithm at all supports the EMS/nursing TikTok, you've seen the video of the LTC nurse. I believe her name is Lindsay. Is that right?
First name's Lindsay, but
Yeah.
we're not going to give any other information.
Well, I mean, what we're posting is, I mean, we're not shit talking.
No.
It's all out there for everybody to see. So she had posted a video. What was it like? It wasn't even a week ago, was it?
No.
I think it was just a couple days ago.
No,
At least that's
I-
when it came on our
I
radar.
Yeah, I was going to say, I stitched it like 2 days ago.
Where she was basically, and it's impossible to summarize a 5-minute video in a sentence, but basically, she had some complaints about the whole process of calling EMS to a skilled nursing facility, acute care, long-term acute care facility, whatnot, and catching attitude from EMS and still trying to do her job and feeling at first it
Frustrated.
came across as just she was generally frustrated at EMS, but also, and as she elaborated later, a kind of a conflict between, okay, well, she's trying to do her job, but also do what she needs to do with EMS and take care of the patient. So we don't have the whole video because she did end up taking it down, but I'm going to insert just a clip right here for you to see, to kind of get some context for the tone of the video.
I will say, I think part of the problem, which actually one of the videos that I posted this morning, people tend to only listen, and per the algorithm that TikTok gives creators, people tend to only watch the first like 5 to 10 seconds of a video, and then they decide if they're going to watch it any further or they move on. So, I mean, I posted less than a minute video this morning asking about shifts, and everybody is literally giving me the time interval of their shifts instead of, are you A, B, C, A, B, C, D. I mean, one of the services that we work for, they had A through F shift.
No, they had A through G. Oh wait, no.
FG. Yeah, G shift.
A, B, C.
I had to do the bad. I had to do the alphabet.
Yeah, they did do a G. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Anyways,
For
less
gangsters.
than a minute. Less than a
weren't.
minute video, and a lot of people are not watching the whole video. So the way her videos started was very confrontational, period. Like, there's no other way to describe it. It was very confrontational, it was very sarcastic, it was very, fuck EMS. She didn't actually say that, but like, well, I mean, she kind of did. But,
Just a little bit.
yeah, I would say she actually kind of did. But that's not the point. So the tone in general was not great. She tried to make a follow-up video, which again, the tone and such and kind of excuses was not great.
Well,
But then she made an apology video. So we're going to kind of talk like in general about situation.
So let's go ahead and play the clip real quick for the initial video so that you can see that.
What are we sending her out for this time? Shut the up. Why does it matter why she's getting sent out? Take the paperwork and get her going.
That was a little spicy, to say the least. I've heard a lot of that kind of stuff for years. Like, to me, it didn't outright ruffle my feathers, just because I've seen that narrative. The, EMS gets huffy, gets an attitude, because we do. There's a lot of people that do.
Well, I was saying, and that was the biggest thing is everything that she was saying is technically true.
It is. It is. Now, where, I obviously take issue with that is there are a lot of us that do take the job seriously, that do show some understanding to nursing facility folks, and even if we're pissed off, frustrated, whatever, that's not the time or place to take it out. I mean, I'll not a call review, but a story I had. I told you this before. This was years ago. I went out to a patient at a long-term care facility that had been seizing for 45 minutes. And I'm not talking about, in and out, petite, no, grand mal seizuring for 45 fucking minutes. Her son is standing there watching and is asking the facility to do stuff. Then the patient got no meds, got zero treatment, was just monitored, sort of. And then we were called. So I get in there and my partner and I are like, oh shit, we got stuff to do. Because normally you go out for a seizure at a sniff, and it's, it may or may not be anything significant. You never really know. Not being demeaning, just, it's like with any call. You never know what you're going to walk into when you actually get there. Patient was seizing, legitimately. So we corrected the problem, but I was trying to ask the nurse for a report, and I got like, nothing. I was upset. I was upset for the family. Like, they're watching this, they don't know what's going on, and their loved one is potentially having their brain fried with these seizures. And so that's not fair to them. Did I lash out, I don't think TikTok was around back then, but did I make a Snapchat video about it or what? No. But like, we've all had those kinds of situations that just infuriated us. And we're like, why is this not common sense? So that runs both directions. This is not a unilateral thing. Like, we have frustrations, they have frustrations, and that's just how these issues are and how it's gonna be, because people suck. It doesn't matter what kind of cert they have. You have shitty, lazy people. You have emotionally unregulated people, lots of them, especially in EMS. And you're just going to have these kinds of interactions no matter how good our culture gets and no matter how excellent our communication is between the disciplines. It's just not going to change. Or it's not going to not happen. We can get it to change, but it's not going to not ever happen.
Well, so we mostly stayed out of that situation. I don't think either of us commented on any of her stuff. I made like a little Stitch video in general because people were outright attacking her.
Well, we did comment, but our comments on her video were basically like,
oh, that's right.
Yeah,
we did. It was just a couple comments.
Yeah, but it was very like even keeled. It wasn't like, oh, fuck you, but like, okay, there's two sides to this. We agree that your frustration's valid, but there's also other things to consider.
But I made a Stitch video that just kind of brought up a few things in general to talk about and put out there. And I guess I'll bring it up just briefly for us to like discuss because it kind of plays into everything. So yes, a lot of SNF facilities have reputations. You have the ones that will send out a patient literally just because they're annoyed with them. The staff knows it. They'll tell you. The patient or the resident knows it. They'll tell you. So, yes, you're going to get frustrated going in those places preemptively because it's like, okay, you're sending out the patient because you don't want to deal with them. And you're taking me away from a potential emergency. I mean, how many times have we had that happen?
Yeah.
And then you have the facilities that will call 911 when the patient is dying. Like, almost like there's no in between. Like, sure, you have some of the nicer facilities that are in between, but like the other ones have the reputation. So I don't know where she works, don't know anything about the reputation or such, but with those two particular situations, it's easy to preemptively get irritated.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing that we've talked about is I have no doubt. Like, I don't necessarily doubt her that EMS, whatever providers walked in and were like, Jesus fuck, why are we here, blah, blah, blah. But being emotionally dysregulated and going on TikTok and making sort of kind of a hate video about it.
Rage baiting.
Rage baiting. There we go. That's better. Is also not a good way to do it because we have had nurses that even if you're nice, they will give you bad attitude. Goodness, I was called out to one SNF facility for hypoglycemia. It was a place that was known for if they're sending out their residents, they're dying. So I walk in, I'm like, ain't no way this is just hypoglycemia. I think I shared it on the TikTok video. Basically, long story short, even with medlog proof, they had overdosed this lady on fucking insulin. And I had the LPN basically standing at my shoulder, almost literally crawling up my ass about I can't just stand here with you. I have stuff to do. And I'm like, then at that point I was like, then go. I need to start an IV. I need to give her D10, two rounds of D10, still no improvement to the BGL. We had a, control area, all the things, we're getting everything bottled up, or not bottled up, but packaged up. And she was literally crawling up my ass. It's hard to not get frustrated in times like that. So getting frustrated with each other is fine, but you don't go to the internet and basically say, fuck all of EMS or fuck all of nursing. And she, in her initial video, also talked about paperwork. I understand, especially when an emergency comes up, paperwork is difficult to deal with. And there have been plenty of times where I've been called out to a SNF for a legit emergency, and I'm ready to fucking go because it's a time-sensitive emergency, and they're like, well, I don't have the paperwork. There does come a certain point where it's like, okay, cool, I'm leaving without the paperwork. So, I understand there's a balance, but EMS also has a fuck ton of paperwork. Mm-hmm. I will say, something that she actively complained about in the video I know most people that listen are within EMS, but I want to address it. She complained about the fact that when EMS comes in to take a patient, they ask the patient questions and then look at the nurse and go, is this their baseline? And she's like, just package up the fucking patient and leave. Do your job. No wonder it was rage baiting. A lot of the questions that we ask patients, we have to verify, okay, they're altered at baseline, but are they altered from their baseline? Or are they altered? We have to continuously reassess because a lot of the questions that we're asking nursing staff at the sending facility and the patient is stuff that we're going to be asked at the ER. And even then, I think I do a pretty good patient assessment. And there are still times where I show up to the ER and they ask me something and I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to ask. It's just, you don't want to have the ER staff getting your report, it being incomplete, and then having to call the sending facility and trying to find the nurse and be like, what the fuck is going on? Because no one has any information.
Well, and I guess as a practical side note for folks that do deal with that frustration, especially these facilities that keep predominantly paper records, it's okay especially if you have a competent partner, that you can say, hey, you work on, whatever you need to do, getting the patient, situated. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go look at the chart. In whatever medium you can hypothetically safely do so.
I carry a pad of paper.
Yeah, write down capture that information in some effective way mm-hmm. to be able to have it in the chart. Mm-hmm. And because you don't need their whole med log. No. You don't need to see all their med doses for the last 3 weeks. Just you don't need it. The hospital doesn't need it right now. Mm-mm. So in some way, shape, or form, go secure that information, which you can do in just a couple of minutes. And then that way you can be more informed and can actually treat the patient accordingly and pass down stuff to the hospital. It's not hard, but it takes you out of your maybe normal workflow, but adapt. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's too much to ask of anybody.
I will say, this is the second video that we've talked about that has caused a stir amongst public service. The first one being the travel mercen dude.
Who, like, is gone.
There was actually some irony to that.
Yes.
He posted a video that he got turned down for a travel job, and he never gets turned down for jobs. And
Okay.
it better not be because of his TikTok. And then, like, less than a couple days later, his TikTok was, like, poofed. And at first we thought he had blocked us, but we looked on our personal pages and, like, literally you cannot find him anywhere.
Oh, shit.
But it seems to be a common quote-unquote theme is emotionally charged videos on both sides. We've seen them from EMS too. On both sides, emotionally charged videos are being made and presented like an exaggeration, satire, hyperbole, pick a fucking word. But if all you're doing is spewing hate speech and not saying, oh, just kidding, or, oh, this is an exaggeration, or like some kind of disclaimer, people are going to take it as your true opinion of, I hate EMS, I hate nursing, I hate, whatever. What I thought was really funny is on my Stitch video or whatever, we had somebody commenting that, oh, what was the comment?
He was basically saying, talking about, oh, it's just another passionate video, and you guys have your fair share of them too.
Yeah.
He didn't say we rage bait. He basically said we're super passionate about it. Which, I mean, yes.
Emotionally charged. There was a certain wording that indicated like we like to instigate things.
Yeah.
And he said something else, and I just commented, I simply commented back, and I was like, hey, do we make like videos that spark conversation? Yes, but never once have we like outright said that we like hated somebody. I can't remember my exact wording, but I was like, we never once said, fuck nurses. And he just
he came back and was acting like you were being condescending.
Yeah.
Which again, I asked him because he made some comment about your body language, and I was
he was like, your body language said that you do your little job.
Well, but what's funny because when he said that, he was quoting one of your comments. So,
which is what she said.
But he was literally quoting one of the comments like that you had written out.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when he said, he could tell your body language, didn't, and I was like, I commented back, I was like, so were you reading body language through text or from the collarbone up? Doesn't really make sense, my guy. So anyway, he kind of showed himself out. So,
but again, it's the like emotional dysregulation. It's emotionally charged. It's people are picking like one word or like one sentence and getting upset about it. And with her, sure, EMS shouldn't have walked in with attitude, but she should have made an emotionally charged, aggressive initial video. However, her apology video was genuine. We've watched it.
And we're going to go ahead and throw that in here now so that you can see, and that we do have the full thing of, so you can watch the several minutes of it.
Hey everyone, this is my sincere apology to all of EMS, whether you saw my original video or not. While it may look like I'm doing this one last because it's not as important, that's not the case. This is actually the most important one, and I wanted to be able to just, review everything. I was reading all of the comments, whether or not I was responding or not, the good, the bad, and the ugly ones. I was speaking with people, individually outside of those videos from nursing, from EMS, just to get a better understanding. And I wanted to be able to make a clear and sincere apology and just see where I was hurting people and where I went wrong. I wanted to be able to say something to that entire community after reading their opinions on my video, because had I known it would have taken such a turn like that, I promise you I would have never, ever posted it. It was never, ever, ever intended to be disrespectful to the entire profession. I had a poor lapse in judgment in using my emotions and letting it get the best of me to make a video and put it out there on the internet. When I began the video saying reason number 5,000, whatever it was, for why I hate sending somebody out via EMS, that did not mean that I hate EMS for that many reasons. If you work in long-term care and if you work in EMS, you know the process sucks. Sometimes it's broken. Sometimes the reason is stupid. I will agree. Sometimes the reason is stupid. Sometimes they can stay at the facility. I know sometimes nurses aren't prepared. I know the patient sometimes isn't ready. I know you don't always have the paperwork. The whole process in general sucks. And that was the reasoning for that large of a number. And it's an exaggeration. I don't really have a list that long for why I hate sending somebody out. Secondly, while my language was a poor choice in that video, it is not literally what came out of my mouth. If you watch even just one other video of mine other than this whole EMS thing, you will see that's not my personality. That's not who I am. I don't like confrontation. I don't like knowing people are mad at me. I don't like hurting people. I am a sensitive soul. I just want everybody to be happy. I try to make them happy. I try to smile, at least say hi. So me saying those words, the curse words, all that stuff, it's just me communicating my thoughts. I would never in a million years, ever, ever, ever speak to somebody like that, especially at work. I know there are people that I've worked with, that I currently work with, that do see these videos of mine and follow me, and if they comment, they can attest, it's not me, okay? I am not that type of person, I promise you. I treat everybody I work with respect, from the administrator, the DON, supervisors, other nurses, all the way down to dietary, housekeeping, maintenance, EMS, anybody. I have an excellent working relationship with people. I would never, ever speak to them so disrespectfully, especially to their face, especially in the setting that I was in. I have said this 100 times, I would never not give a report. I understand the importance of report. I understand that they need to know what's going on with the person they're transporting so that they can give a report to the hospital. We are supposed to call. It doesn't always happen. ER nurses can tell you. It probably hardly ever happens. So I understand the importance of giving EMS report, and trust me, I gave report. This video is directed to people that work in EMS. I know there are some of you that are watching this stuff and commenting just to instigate, just to add fuel to the fire. You don't participate in these fields, and I'm disregarding everything you're saying. But to the people of EMS, I am truly, truly, truly sorry. First, for speaking the way I did. Secondly, for making you feel so disrespected. I appreciate everything you do. I would never, ever want your job, and I truly appreciate your role in the healthcare team for the people of our communities. My initial video was not an appropriate way to communicate my frustrations. I recognize that, and I apologize for that.
I thought that was very legit. I've seen a lot of apology videos.
Travel Merson tried to do an apology, but it was basically, I'm sorry you got offended and are seeking clout.
Yeah.
And we're like, that's not an apology.
But
She's
this
genuine.
was legit. Yeah.
And this is where we need to have good conversation about everybody has attitudes. Everybody has, we can't compare our jobs to nursing. They can't compare theirs to ours. Like, we're all different. I'm not being condescending.
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
no, I think the most beautiful thing that's coming out of this is, I mean, honestly, I'd have been fine without the apology video per se, given what's happening next, because, and I'm sorry for those of you who aren't on TikTok, some of these names may not be familiar, but she's engaged with a couple of people that we know. Redbeard the medic is one we've talked about some before, and he's carving out a space in the EMS influencer niche as well. So he's engaged with her directly, as well as Nurse Andrea, who is a very pro EMS nursing influencer. And so Nurse Andrea and this Lindsay gal are actually hosting a live, and there's going to be other people participating in it, but Nurse Andrea is kind of moderating it. And to have an open discussion about this, to let everybody clear the air in a productive way, which is exactly what's been needing to happen. This is the kind of shit that has needed to happen for fucking decades. And we have, and I don't care who's doing it. Like, I don't give a shit whether, we were involved in this or any future conversations. This is the kind of response we've been advocating for, of Let's talk about it. Let's work through it. Let's find fucking solutions instead of just bitching at each other all the time.
Yeah, I mean, making emotionally charged videos and then getting offended at each other and stuff is not making it anywhere. And here's the thing, even if everybody checks their attitudes at the door, even if, whatever, emergencies do happen. Paperwork is going to be delayed. There's always going to be exceptions to the rule, even if we make the rule, everybody's nice to each other and gets along. But there is also so much. I'm sorry, I have to say it kind of mystery to what we do. Unless nurses were previously paramedics, which I mean, there are a lot of them that we're seeing, but unless nursing staff comes and does ride times with us, and unless we do more in the nursing realm, and I'm not talking about hospital clinicals, I'm talking about like straight fucking paperwork, like their charting, their responsibilities, seeing their scope of practice, we will never intimately understand each other's jobs. We just won't, which is where conversation and frustrations need to go. How many times have you had somebody, whether it's a new hire or there are a couple hospitals that force their doctors and their nurses to do ride times to work in the ER. I can't tell you how many times they've been on a ride time. We walk out of a house or, the end of the call and they're like, oh my God, people live like that. Oh my God. You took this shit show, improved it, even though it was still a shit show when it got to the hospital, there was still an improvement. And we're like, now you see, even if I walk into the ER with a clusterfuck of a patient, there was improvement.
Or at least we didn't let things get worse.
I mean, yes, at that point, like at least we're like maintaining, no change.
And this circles back to our topic of why is EMS the Red-Headed Stepchild? It's because it's two parts. One, we don't do a very good job at upholding a consistent standard of behavior and emotional regulation. We don't have any consistent, I like to think of it as an ethos, a spirit of what it means to be a provider. We're just ragtagging it and everybody's kind of shooting from the hip. And a lot of people just don't give a fuck. So we don't have that consistency. And what ends up happening is we are unprofessional in our conduct. And when we're interacting with the public, we don't have a useful, meaningful message for them. Mm-hmm. We want them to feel our frustration. We want to feel heard. Okay, then what? If you just want to be heard and you just want to bitch and complain and moan and you don't care what happens after that conversation, okay, cool. That's not going to help anything. What we should be doing is, no, we don't need to be like trying to recruit everybody we see to come to EMS. We don't need to lie to them that we're just like, oh my God, I'm so in love with this job. But you can be realistic with them and educate them without being a dick and without making the problem worse. Because whether you're on a call or whether somebody stops you and is talking to you in a restaurant, if you're just like, oh, it's so annoying when we get so many calls and so many people are, okay, what is that doing? What kind of message about your character are you sharing to these people?
Well,
it's counterproductive.
So speaking about that with like the standard of care and stuff like that, throughout like prepping for this and things that we've seen online, we've reached out to some of our followers just for general feedback, like on open TikTok videos. We've talked to some of our coworkers at previous jobs. We've talked to some of the higher ups that we know at various organizations, educational and service. And something interesting that we've consistently seen across multiple services is you'll have like a parent company, whether it's a hospital, whether it's corporate, whether it's, several like fire departments, agencies that fall under like a giant umbrella for areas, whatever. You have like the parent company that in general appears to have some kind of like standard practice, SOGs, COGs, something. They have something in place. But as things trickle down, if you have management, supervisors, pick some kind of hierarchy, as things trickle down, if the hierarchy is not maintaining that the standards are being kept as it starts trickling down, and you have lazy providers that are ignoring things or lazy supervisors ignoring things, by the time you get down to like the street providers, whether it's drivers, EMTs, paramedics, whatever, the standard of training, professionalism, tuck in your fucking shirt if you're supposed to with a polo like t-shirt, like the bare minimum standards are not being maintained, even though the parent company may have those standards technically written and want to be enforced. But as things trickle down, if you just have people ignoring and being lazy and everything, it's just going to keep getting worse the bigger it is. It's kind of like the snowball effect.
We love to have this image on paper that, we're compassionate, caring people, that we're, outstanding, going above and beyond. We're heroes. We're really not. Like, I hate to say it, we're not fucking heroes. I would say more than half of the people, at least that I've run into in my career, don't behave accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
They behave like children. And I've had moments like that in my career. I've had seasons like that in my career. And so I'm not speaking like this, oh, I've never done that shit. No, I get it. And that's exactly why we are here collectively crawling up your ass about it, because this is counterproductive. This is going to cause dissonance. You're going to lose good people, because if you're more concerned about what your website says about you than you are about the actual behavior of your people on calls, then not just their behavior, but their clinical care too. Both of them. Both are equally important, because over half of this job is just how you talk to people, not even the actual physical skills that you do.
Well, I think what cracks me the fuck up is there's a few accreditations, but like awards, what is it? Large System of the Year award or whatever. There's a few various things that, like, on paper, some of these systems, whether it's now or 20, 30 years ago, that they got, and that's what they fall back on. They're like, oh, we got this accreditation when we were good. But it's like, if you look at this accreditation or this award and you look at the service that it is today, and you're just like, oh dear God, how the fuck did we get here? I mean, there's some accreditations that are through DHEC. I mean, let's just take DHEC requirements, for example. Everybody gets some kind of heads up when DHEC is going to be coming through. So what often do we see? All of management is freaking the fuck out that we need to get all the supplies in the truck and out-of-date stuff. And, everybody needs to be, dressed in uniform and stuff. And, be on your best behavior when DHEC gets here. And it's like, oh my God, I have supplies. Oh my God, dispatch and everybody's on their best behavior when DHEC comes by. And the moment the DHEC is like, okay, cool, you're good, everything falls to shit again. And it's like, why are we doing this ping-ponging thing? Like, it's going to be harder and probably cost more money if you wait until everything has fallen to shit. DHEC comes and you're like, oh no, I have to replace all this stuff. Than maintaining standards.
That just highlights that we have a lack of continuity. Mm-hmm. We're only concerned about all of the standards when someone's watching and when it affects our funding. Mm-hmm. We're not actually concerned about it because it's the right thing. That's where we have such a problem. That is why we are so dead inside as an industry, because we're so focused on what we look like, what our protocols look like, the cool toys that some people get to carry. And yet we're completely losing the heart and soul of the industry. And the public can see that. Mm-hmm. Everybody can see that. We're not the only industry that's happening to, but I mean, we kind of need to address this.
So it's not really a call review. And this is like third-hand story. So, I mean, there's a minimum of 3 sides for every story. There's one person's side, the other person's side, and then the truth is somewhere in the middle. But I was told about a call from one of my students that they were called out to, I think it was like an 80-year-old, for stroke-like symptoms. They get on scene, and the first thing that the family said is, please, you have to take my, who I think it was like grandparent or something. You have to take them to this one hospital. Like, they were just seen there for a brain bleed less than 2 weeks ago, got out of rehab 2 days ago, and all of this shit is wrong. And my students' crew was the second crew on scene, and they're like, well, without question, like, why is this a question? Well, come to find out, like, less than 2 hours prior, a double medic truck had gone out to this house, gotten the same medical history, brain bleed, hypertensive, bradycardic.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
I can't remember all the details. There's something else that was wrong, but literally it all screamed like, it was sudden, like, right-sided deficit or something. They were able, my students' crew was able to look at the CAD and see that they were on scene, the initial crew was on scene, for 11 minutes and wavered the patient. And family literally said that they ended up wavering because that crew refused to take them and said that, oh, well, those are normal deficits after that kind of surgery. Just wait and see. And when my student got on scene, they got a race of 4, and within like 20 minutes of patient contact and transport, it was like a race of 6. And there was a 2, I think it was either inches or centimeters, I can't remember, but there was a complete mid-line shift from a brain bleed of this patient when they took them to the appropriate facility. And the facility that the original crew was wanting to take them to was like 10 minutes down the road and had no like neural like stroke capabilities, like none at all. Completely inappropriate, period. Whereas the appropriate hospital was like only an extra, I think like 10 minutes away. So like almost negligible when you talk about appropriate care with that big of a complaint gap. Like, the public can see when you walk on scene and you're not going to take into account the chief complaint, the medical history. I mean, again, I was not there. Yes, my student was telling me this secondhand, but he said that you could hear how frantic the family was because of their first crew impression. And then when the second crew got on scene, they were like basically crying, like, please, you have to understand, you have to take it there. To me, that's a no-brainer, but apparently to some it's not.
Well, and it's not hard to have some baseline compassion for people. I'm sorry you're inconvenienced and have to go run calls. Oh, wait, sorry. I'm not sorry. This is your fucking job. You are actually paid to run calls. Now, does that mean that for a 24-hour shift, you should literally run nonstop for all 24 hours? No.
Does that mean that you can't complain? No. Complain to yourself, complain to your partner, but don't be miserable. Don't be a miserable fuck to your partner, to your family, to your patients.
Students.
Yeah, to your students.
Students, new hires. When you step off that truck, none of that shit fucking matters.
Nope.
And it's one, if you can joke and make it lighthearted with the patient and be like, man, I'm so glad I got you because it is wild out there right now and I would much rather be doing this than all the insane crap that's in the fan out there. Like, so if you want to work in something like that to just make them feel at ease, come across as normal, fine, cool, do that. But don't make them feel like they're the inconvenience. Again, there's always exceptions and there's people that truly abuse the system, but you guys know exactly what the fuck I mean.
I think my favorite way, whether it's ending a waiver, a transport, I'll even say it to nursing staff sometimes, like when I'm giving report, I'll be like, the nurse that I kept giving all my patients to yesterday, I said the same thing after my last call with him. I was like, listen, Linda, I like you, but no offense, I don't want to see you again today. Like, if I'm going to see you, meet me at Walmart. Meet me at Food Lion.
Maybe a QT,
like,
something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, like I see you at like a store. I don't
Yeah.
want to see you in this context. And honestly, patients they crack the fuck up at that. They're like, yeah, let's go shopping. Like the older grams, they want to go to the grocery store. They're like, yeah, I'll see you there, dearie.
Well, in a way, this kind of segues, this call specifically segues into our second big category of reasons why EMS is a red-headed stepchild, and that is our education standards.
Yeah.
Or lack thereof, in the sense that we don't have, I mean, yeah, you got National Registry, kinda. I mean, it's basically a universal standard, but as far as the way our programs, whether they're collegiate or certificate only, the lack of consistency. I mean, I'll be the first to admit, when I was going through medic school, we were taught everything. They were like, it doesn't matter if you'll ever do this in South Carolina or not. You need to learn how to do it.
Yep.
You need to be checked off on doing crikes. We did fucking surgical crikes on actual cadavers. Like, and I think you guys did something like that.
Yeah.
They brought them to you. We actually went to a true cadaver lab.
Well, and
But-
we learned like it's considered stabilization of a chest tube, not like actual insertion. But like, I mean, we learned how to give Lasix and there's one other drug. There were a few drugs that we had to learn that they're like, yeah, this isn't the standard of care like that we give anymore, but you need to understand why patients have it. It's like one of the classics. So like Lasix were one of them. Axis deviation, Z-plane deviation, electrolyte imbalances.
More anatomy and physiology than you could, shit out of a school building. Like,
Yeah.
it was
Pathophysiology.
insane. And, taught all these skills, not because, oh, well, this is exactly how you're going to see it in the field, but it's, This is a baseline competency. We even addressed vents, which around here, vents are kind of a bad word because they're usually just for critical care medics. But like, if it was within, if it had anything to do with paramedicine anywhere in the fucking country, we had to learn it. Pharmacology and cardiology was no fucking joke.
It was an entire semester.
It was an entire semester.
I mean, they basically took the book and beat you over the head for 3 days a week.
I mean, in 10 weeks, we were expected to have completely mastered all rhythms. Anything related to that fucking cardiac monitor, you had to learn in 10 fucking weeks. On top of your entire formulary of medications, which for me was like, I think there was 60 something. You guys had closer to 80, I think.
I think they're up to like 80 or 90 now.
Yeah, but in 10 weeks, you had to master all of it.
And we're not just saying like be able to regurgitate, Adenocard is 12. Like, you had to know indications, contraindications, uses. Ketamine can be used for like 6 different things now. Calcium can be used in sepsis protocols. Like, we had to know fucking all of it. Well, more and more now we're seeing students from, widespread, not even just one program, widespread programs. And it's like, I've had students recently that they're leading into their capstone semester and they don't know the formula for fluid resuscitation. They're like, oh, I give 500 cc's. And I'm like, what? For what? And they can't tell you. They can't tell you why they're giving a breathing treatment. Why albuterol versus Duoneb for this versus that. It's a respiratory complaint. We're just going to give them Solumedrol. I'm like, but it's an aspiration. Like, it's not respiratory in nature, which there may be medicine out there that I'm unaware of. But point being, how do we not know a fluid resuscitation formula? Why is dopamine like one of the only pressors that we're lecturing on? I've had 3 students now that don't even know what the fuck you give antibiotics for.
Yeah.
I mean, they know that you give them for sepsis, but they don't know anything about any of it.
You should, if you're going to be a medic, and this is a pet peeve of mine as we discovered in talking about this, when it comes to respiratory calls. No, I do not consider myself a god at respiratory calls, but I'm pretty confident and competent with that. I just don't understand that, it's a respiratory call, so I need to give these 3 meds. No. Just because when someone complains of shortness of breath, that is as vague a complaint as abdominal pain. There are so many different things that could be going on, and if you just start slinging reactive airway disease meds at them, you could fucking kill them. So, okay, for EMTs, I mean, I would even say for EMTs, they're still not an excuse, because EMTs are expected to give albuterol, and in some cases Duoneb, to patients these days.
EMTs can still do a cardiac assessment.
But I'm just saying, as far as understanding the meds, but if you're a paramedic student, especially if you are a final semester capstone ride time paramedic student, you should know those pathways and those drugs for all variations of all respiratory complaints backwards and fucking forwards.
I mean, when I was on capstone ride time, the best preceptors had the rule that if you couldn't tell me about the drug and why it was given, you couldn't give it. Yeah. I personally did not have that problem, but I can appreciate that. Like, why are you giving a drug if you have no fucking clue why you're giving it? Even if it is the correct choice, if you can't tell me anything about it and know that, like, there are certain allergies that make it to where you can't give Adenocard and stuff like that, like, there's something wrong here. And
even if you get rusty on some of the complex A&P details of why certain drugs, work certain ways, A, review it. B, you should still be able to give a clinically based rationale for any and every medication you give. If you can't do that, you should not be giving the fucking medication.
I'll fall back on, or also why you did not give a medication, because pertinent negatives are just as important, if not more than, positive findings.
Usually what I have found is that if there's problems that we are seeing on any significant scale of any kind, they tend to be happening in other places too. There tends to be a good bit of consistency there. So I don't think that it's short-sighted or biased of me to say that we all have this problem on some level. Are there amazing academies? Are there amazing collegiate programs? Sure. And ultimately, yes, I think we should be raising the minimum requirements academically.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say ultimately what I care the most about is, do you have programs that are appropriately funded
Mm-hmm.
to have the appropriate up-to-date equipment to be able to teach the updated medicine consistently. You have to hit all those markers at a bare fucking minimum. And if there's a non-collegiate program that can do that, cool. That's awesome. I'm fine with that. Unfortunately, that's just not the pattern we see.
Mm-hmm.
Non-collegiate programs typically do not have that same level of funding.
Well, and something too is we're talking right this second about initial education, but how often do we see in-service and CEP where they're like, okay, guys, we're going to review how to run a cardiac arrest. And it's like, okay, yes, there are a lot of new hires, new providers, new partnerships and stuff that like need to kind of figure out how to do it and stuff. But I don't think I've been to a single IST recently that I like actually learned something new or that had actual updated medicine. And there's supposed to be, but it doesn't seem to be a continuing ed standard either. I mean, there are so many providers, resources, etc. out there that you could take a refresher in like, I mean, technically it's the 40 to 48 hours or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been several review courses that I've done that I don't listen to the video. I skip straight to the test and I can ace the test without even paying attention to the material. And it's like, is that really review? Is that really like updating my stuff? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like continuing ed standards are just not there either.
Yeah, I mean, and you had the advantage of you've been a paramedic for a few years now, but still relatively recently.
Mhm.
And you retain a lot of that information better than a lot of the rest of us do.
Mhm.
So there's an element of a lot of it is still very like top of mind to you that a lot of people it's not. Unfortunately.
But that's what I'm saying.
I'm
Have
not
the
saying that's healthy. I'm just saying that's unfortunately the way it is.
referring to like advanced CEP.
Well, just in general, what for you right now is like, no duh, I didn't learn anything new. For some of these people is.
But running a cardiac arrest scenario
Well,
every
no.
fucking CEP, like, I'm sorry.
No, not that.
If you're a paramedic that doesn't know how to run a cardiac arrest, give your cards back.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying in general.
I
You
got
know,
you.
certain
Yeah.
topics,
I see what you're saying.
it is a top of mind thing because at a certain point, there's a lot of stuff that changes. Even since I finished school, there's a lot of things that have changed. So
Yeah.
I think ultimately what we should be and we'll recap with like, you know, what would be the solutions to these things. But for education, we need to rally around some kind of consistency, both in initial education
Mhm.
and in continuing education, not just of clinical care, but of behavior, leadership, all those other soft skills, if you will,
Mhm.
that we need to master for this job. We do need a consistent standard for that stuff. The third thing, unless there's more you wanted to
Mm-mm.
tack onto that, I think we've
Talked
talked
to
about
death.
that stuff a lot too.
We beat
So
the dead horse.
we're recapping, if you will.
Mhm.
The third thing that we have for why EMS is the redhead stepchild of healthcare is discounts.
Mhm.
And
We made a couple of videos. We've talked
Yeah.
about stuff.
again, I think this is one of those things that has been such a problem for many, 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 many years. I've seen it countless times. This sense of entitlement, and people don't respect that. People don't respect entitlement. They don't respect this. Oh, gimme, gimme, gimme. Like, boohoo, woe is me. I have such a hard life. Give me stuff for cheap or for free. Or, you know, oh, well, we're heroes. Do we not deserve the same thing? Fuck off. Just fuck all the way off. There are so many more important things and important ways that we should be looking for actual affirmation, respect, and recognition from the community than whether or not you get free fucking Chick-fil-A or whether you get free coffee. Like, and I do understand the argument of, well, there should be, you know, equal respect. Yeah, but I can't control that, and that's not the hill I want to die on.
You just made me think of, I guess, an analogy or something to compare it to. I don't know if it'll go exactly together, but how often do we hear and see things posted? I see it often because we follow a few small business owners. How small business owners will post either a meme or something that they actually wrote. And it's like, instead of asking these small business owners for like a friends and family discount or, you know,
Mhm.
whatever, why don't you support their business and pay full price? Because when you go to Walmart are you bargaining for that bar of soap to be like $2 off or 50 cents off? Because I mean, I joke that we basically pay rent to Walmart. So if I'm actively paying rent to Walmart, why can't I get one shopping spree like a month? But you don't see us arguing with
No.
corporate
No.
to get cheaper prices. But then you see people who are trying to play the personal card with small business owners and say, hey, give me a friends and family discount. When actually those are the people that you should be paying at, if not higher, than their handmade, non-mass produced stuff. So, I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand. It kind of doesn't. But like, why are we going to these places saying, where's my friends and family discount? Where's my EMS discount? You know, you gave this person that. It's like, okay, if they give it to you, fantastic. Like, cool. You were acknowledged. But like, I get physically uncomfortable when I'm given a discount or given something for free, or like somebody says, you know, oh, thank you so much for what you do. I couldn't do what you do, because you don't see me walking up to teachers going, dude, I don't know how the fuck you take care of these 30 children. I appreciate teachers. I personally get physically uncomfortable, but looking for discounts now. One of the biggest content creator videos that kind of exploded with the whole discount thing had to do with coffee. And she tried to make it about how it's not about the free coffee discount. It's the fact that fire and law enforcement got it and not EMS, which I do understand. But there's a large portion, I don't know what percent, but there's a portion of the country that EMS and fire made a baby. And people
That's how it started.
Yeah, and people are cross-trained. They started as public safety, where they were fire, EMS, and law enforcement officers. They still have some of those in Florida. So it might not even be that one place that was giving away free coffee and stuff said fuck you to EMS. It might be in that area, fire and EMS are predominantly together, and they just kind of lumped it as one.
Or it could be that the corporate office of some of those places, they're not, to them, they think that EMS and fire are the same, because again, that's how it started in the 70s. Don't take it out. If you're going and taking it out on the person who's behind the cash register, what are you actually doing? You're actually dropping your value. And even if you don't take it out directly on them, if you go and just complain about it, you're dropping your social currency, if you will, because you're going after a bone that isn't actually the thing. That's not the thing. That's not the issue. That's not the stuff we should be concerned about. That's an ancillary thing. That is like so beyond the list of things that we should actually be concerned about and trying to fix.
But this circles us back to, if you take issue with something, like there's other avenues that we should be bringing up, like better public relations and stuff. But if you get emotionally charged, have emotional dysregulation, go on fucking TikTok and make a video bitching about it that anybody can see, then you're telling the general public that to be an EMS, it's great. But why did you forget about me? I want my free coffee. And that might be the only EMS video that they see. And it's you complaining about coffee. That's it. That's it. It's like, coffee, although I would die without it, is not a hill I'm willing to die on why the public needs to understand the importance of EMS and our role with healthcare, with public service, with the community.
So the big question becomes, how do we fix this? Because this is an age-old problem of being the redhead stepchild.
Dye your hair, beat the shit out of each other, and move on.
I mean,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I think debate by combat is a wonderful thing, and we should absolutely have it on top of department paintball tournaments. Let each shift just take their shit out on each other. But anyway,
I was joking about dyeing the red hair, the red-headed stepchildren.
Oh, yeah.
Please don't dye your beard.
No, I'll let nature do that.
Okay, good.
But the solution is actually relatively simple. One is fix yourself first. 2, consistency. Right now, we have no consistency. No consistency with the public, with our attitudes, with our education, none of it. So at wherever you fall in the EMS pyramid, if you will, whatever you're doing, do it well, do it consistently, do it in a way that positively reflects on the industry as a whole, Not just your service, not just you as a person, but on the industry as a whole. Now, okay, that sounds wonderful. Like, what can one person do doing that? Absolutely nothing. One person doing that on their own isn't going to do jack fucking shit. Mm-hmm. But when you start getting tens of thousands of people across the country, across the world even, that start doing that, and that take that ownership of what's right in front of them, the ground under their feet, and make that their if you will, their conquest, that they have to do well. Guess what? Magically, our culture is going to get better. The respect from the public is going to get better. Our performance is going to get better. It's all going to get better if we all fucking do it. This whole, oh, well, nothing ever works, because you don't fucking stick with it. You're not consistent. Mm-hmm. You have to be consistent. Otherwise, nothing's going to work.
Well, and the whole starting with you thing, I don't know if anybody's familiar with Dave Ramsey's like snowball debt effect. You can also fall back on the atomic habits, which we've talked about before.
Wonderful.
But basically, it's, if you start with the most basic habits and build its way up, let's take, for example, he referred to, the pyramid, whether it's pyramid up, pyramid down, ladder, whatever. Let's start with drivers. Drivers, you should be perfecting the art of driving. Non-emergent, emergent, learning the fucking truck. Go ahead and start learning where equipment is. Even if you can't use it, you don't have to have a certification to hand me something. Mm-hmm. Learn how to perfect that fucking job, because that is one of the most dangerous jobs that we do. I was almost killed last year on a truck. Driving is so fucking important. Then they go get either their EMT or EMR, depending on where you are. And the state I originally got certified in, I was forced to get my EMR first, which there was a benefit to it. I learned my patient. It was actually very fascinating. It helped me with the stair step. But whether it's EMT, EMR, whatever, learn how to perfect that fucking job. Learn your skills. Learn your indications and contraindications to drugs. Learn literally the basics. Because if you're a good basic, you will make a good medic. Some of the worst medics were probably some shit-ass EMTs. Just adding on additional skills, even if you have good rote memorization for drugs, it doesn't mean you're going to be a good provider. If you can't BVM that patient as a paramedic, fuck you. Why are you intubating? Like, you have to be able to perfect the basics first. So learn to be a good EMT, make good habits, and through all of this, read a book, go exercise, don't eat gas station food every motherfucking day. There's so many things that if you start small, like, sure, for a lot of people, is starting 75 hard going to be really fucking hard? Yes, we see those stories all the time. 75 Hard has a Facebook page, and we see those stories every day.
It's called 75 Hard for a reason.
Yeah. Daniel and I have talked multiple times. We have like the little individual like concepts of 75 Hard. We already have in place in our lives. The hard part for us is putting everything together and doing 2 workouts a day. Not just 1, 2.
For 45 minutes each.
Which, when you're not used to the consistency of every day, it makes it hard. But you know what? I feel really fucking good going to bed at the end of every day. Like, I feel my body may be tired, but mentally and physically feel better. Mm-hmm. So learning to do the job and snowballing and building on small habits is going to make you a better partner, a better provider. You're going to be happier because you're like, oh my God, I don't have to fret about this call. How many times a new provider where you're going to a call, you're like, fuck, I'm not good at these type calls. Shit. I wish I had learned in class or, listened in class or, something like that. The snowball effect is all of us are going to become better. And as you have drivers become EMTs, become paramedics, leaders, whatever, eventually they're not going to have to learn much more. You don't have to learn much more. It's not like you have to do a hard reset on your personality to go from shitbag to, oh, I'm a leader and I want to make change. Like, it's possible. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's possible. But you're setting yourself up for success if you start small.
So if you don't want to be the redheaded stepchild, don't act like the redheaded stepchild. Act better.
Don't ask for discounts.
Yeah, don't ask for... Just fucking don't.
Or if you do, don't admit it to social media and complain.
The only time you would ever see me ask for a discount is if it was a business that says, hey, we give this discount to all first responders on and off duty.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to say, like, hey, like, here's my ID. Are you good with this? Okay, cool. But anyway, that's just a complete side note.
The only
Just
time I would be tempted to ask for a discount is on when we have to replace all 4 tires on our vehicles. Because, God, that bill sucks butt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Discount tires isn't discount so much anymore.
No. So,
Anyways.
if you haven't picked up on the theme of this entire channel, just be a professional. It's not hard. Do better. Be a
Build
good
good
person.
habits.
Build good habits. Be a good person. And if we're all focused on doing that, a lot of stuff will kind of start to fix itself. So, anything else you want to add in before we peace out?
No.
Cool. Well, if you learned something, awesome. Share it with your friends. If you were offended,
Sorry.
good. Go make a TikTok video about it. Tell everybody.
Please.
And then tell them we offended you.
That's emotionally charged and poor dysregulation, but okay.
I mean, it'll definitely bring up the conversation. Anyway,
I mean, fair.
feel free to tell your friends about it. But eat a dick. Have a good one. Bye.